when the most terrifying enemy of the gods begins to break his chains and awaken. The entire world stands on the edge of being burned to ashes. The final hope rests on Perseus, the man who once saved humanity from the Kraken. To stop the coming disaster, he must find a legendary superweapon, cross the ever-changing labyrinth of Tartarus, and face the monsters of the underworld. But the greatest danger of all comes from the betrayal of those who once stood beside the gods. The story begins on a battlefield that looks like the end of the world. A gigantic burning hand, larger than a mountain, rains fire across the field of war, while a two-headed demon slaughters everything in its path. In the middle of this graveyard, Perseus sees that his own son is there too, and he tries to save him, but the massive hand destroys everything. Then Perseus jolts awake, and he realizes it was a nightmare. Yet a new disaster truly is coming for the world. 10 years have passed since the great battle where Perseus killed the Kraken. His wife has died, and now his entire world is his young son Helios. Because Perseus doesn't want his son to witness the flames of war, he lives quietly in a small village as an ordinary fisherman. But one day a violent earthquake strikes nearby, and the ground begins to split in two. In the deepest part of the underworld, the magical prison of Tartarus starts to tremble. This is the place that holds not only the most savage monsters in the world, but also the cruel titan Kronos, who has waited for centuries to take his revenge on the gods. That night, thunder crashes across the sky and Zeus appears before Perseus with worry on his face. He explains that after the last great disaster, mankind has stopped praying to the gods, and because of this the gods are growing old and their powers are fading. Zeus warns that if Kronos escapes from Tartarus, the whole world will be turned to ash. He begs Perseus for help, but Perseus refuses, saying he cannot leave his son alone. Zeus tells him that his half-human blood actually makes him stronger than the gods. And with that he departs. Zeus travels to the deepest part of the underworld, where Poseidon waits, and his son Ares arrives as well. Though Ares is bitter, because he believes Zeus values Perseus more than his own son, Zeus leads them close to Tartarus and calls out to Hades, asking him to forget their old hatred and help keep Kronos locked away. But at that moment, a swarm of monsters surrounds them and attacks. Because Hades has already betrayed them, caught off guard, Poseidon is struck by a ball of fire and badly wounded, and Ares, who has also joined Hades, attacks his own father, knocks Zeus unconscious and takes away his lightning weapon. The next morning, monsters begin crawling out of the earth, and Perseus notices a ball of fire streaking toward his village. So he runs home. A demon tears the ground open and bursts out, heading straight for his son. So Perseus grabs the sword that Zeus once gave him and charges at it. The beast is the Chimera, a two-headed monster, and Perseus leaps onto its back and strikes it, but it throws him off and lunges toward Helios. So he provokes it to draw its attention back onto himself. He is dragged through a house, but the monster gets caught on an iron anchor lodged in its poison-spewing head, and Perseus cuts off its serpent tail, then uses a chain to twist its head off course, so that when the Chimera breathes fire, its own flames burn it to death. Even though the monster is dead, the village lies in ruins, and the disaster Zeus warned about is now real. Perseus takes Helios to a decaying temple of the gods and prays to summon Zeus. But instead it is Poseidon who appears. Badly wounded, Poseidon tells him that Hades and Ares have betrayed them, and that now only Perseus can save Zeus. But to do that he must find Hephaestus. With his final breaths, he hands Perseus his trident and tells him to seek out his son Agner, a prisoner in the camp of Queen Andromeda, who will show him the way. If the young man proves worthy, Perseus should give him this trident. Perseus leaves Helios somewhere safe, then rides the flying horse Pegasus to the camp of his old friend Andromeda, who is overjoyed to see him. She has now become a warrior leading her army against the monsters, and it is clear she still has feelings for him. Perseus asks about Agner, and she leads him to the prison where the young man is held. Agner is no warrior, but a thief and a con man serving a sentence, and he has never cared about his divine bloodline. Yet when he learns his father is dead, he agrees to join the mission. He tells them the map of the labyrinth was made by only one person, the blacksmith who forged the lightning of Zeus and the trident of Poseidon. But Hephaestus was cast out of Olympus long ago and now lives on a nameless island. Perseus, Andromeda and Agner board a ship, but the sea is covered in thick fog. Agner asks for his father's trident, saying that without the weapon of Poseidon they will never find the hidden island. And the moment Perseus hands it over and Agner grips it, the sea begins to shake. and the ship changes course on its own toward the mysterious island. The island is covered in dense jungle, and traps are hidden everywhere. So Agner accidentally triggers one and is caught in a cage that hauls him into the air. Then the guardians of the island reveal themselves. Giant cyclops with a single eye, whose blows can split the largest trees clean in two. As they attack, Perseus triggers a trap that slams a tree trunk into one cyclops and knocks it down. And when the fighting stops, he draws out the trident and asks where Agner is. Right then an old cyclops brings Agner over. And seeing the trident, he explains that they are the guardians of Hephaestus and the protectors of this forest. Meanwhile, in the underworld, Hades and Ares are holding Zeus prisoner. Ares hates his father because he believes Zeus always favored Perseus, while Hades is terrified of death. Hades explains that when humans stop praying, the power of the gods fades, and if they die they no longer ascend to the heavens but simply vanish from existence. So Hades and Ares have made a deal with Kronos, offering to give him the power of Zeus in exchange for immortality. The Cyclops lead Perseus and his group to a cave where Hephaestus lives. The old blacksmith seems a little mad and hates the gods for abandoning him. He reveals that he created Tartarus, and that when he built it he also made a secret passage for himself. Though this passage is not an ordinary road but an incredibly complex labyrinth. When Perseus tells him that Ares and Hades are working to free Kronos, Hephaestus agrees to help, and along the way he gives the map to Agner, warning that the maze plays with the human mind, because at every turn there are hundreds of doors, and choosing the wrong one means certain death. The moment the group reaches the entrance, Hephaestus opens the magical door, but the sky tears apart and Ares drops down with the speed of lightning. Perseus tries to stop him, but his blows have no effect, and Ares kills the soldiers one by one. As the labyrinth door begins to close, Hephaestus holds it open while Agner strikes Ares from behind, and Andromeda, Perseus and Agner run inside the maze, while Hephaestus sacrifices himself to save them. Inside the labyrinth, they are thrown into a world that constantly warps and shifts. Stone walls move, passages open and close without warning, and every wrong door can lead to death. They barely escape crushing blocks of stone, but the deeper they go, the more the maze pulls them into darkness, as if the place itself is a living creature hunting them. Perseus falls into a dark chamber where a monster attacks him again and again. And when he has grown exhausted, the creature finally reveals itself as the Minotaur. When it charges, Perseus snaps off one of its horns and uses that very horn to kill it. And the instant the Minotaur dies, the chamber begins to transform once more. Perseus finds Andromeda and Agner again, and they reach the center of Tartarus, where Zeus hangs suspended by enormous magical chains. Zeus surprises Hades by apologizing and forgiving him for the entire scheme. And in Hades' eyes there appears a clear love for his brother and regret for his own mistakes. But right then, Ares attacks Hades with the weapon of Zeus, and Zeus stops the weapon from activating. Refusing to let Ares kill his brother, Hades seizes the chance to pull Ares down into the deep chasm below. While Kronos by now has almost fully awakened, Perseus shatters the chains binding Zeus, and when Ares appears again and creates an explosion that throws Andromeda into the air, Perseus catches her. Hades arrives to hold Ares back and tells everyone to leave. But as Perseus carries Zeus away, Ares strikes Hades, seizes the trident of Poseidon and hurls it straight into Zeus. With the situation growing desperate, Zeus uses the last of his strength to create an explosion that lets them escape the underworld. But now all of his power is gone and he is very close to death. Zeus tells Perseus that Kronos can only be destroyed by a single super weapon, forged by uniting the lightning of Zeus, the trident of Poseidon, and the weapon of Hades. But the lightning is still in the hands of Ares. Perseus speaks to Ares through prayer, telling him the time has come to prove who is truly the worthy son of Zeus. Then he tells Agner and Andromeda that they must hold Kronos back for a while, and he leaves to confront Ares. The responsibility of holding back Kronos now falls on Andromeda and her army, as the Machae warriors of Kronos crawl out of falling fireballs and charge into the human ranks, cutting down soldiers with blades quick as lightning. Meanwhile, Perseus reaches the temple and finds Ares waiting. But Ares has brought Helios too, and he vows to kill Perseus in front of his son so he understands what it feels like to lose a father. Perseus attacks, but the power of Ares far surpasses his own, and every blow is useless while Ares slams him into the temple pillars. When Ares believes Perseus is defeated, he turns back toward Helios, but Perseus gathers his last strength, wraps his arms around Ares from behind, and drives Ares' own dagger into his chest. Then he plunges the lightning of Zeus into him, and Ares' body dissolves into ash. Now Perseus has all three weapons and unites them into a single super weapon. By this time Hades has arrived on the battlefield, and he goes to Zeus and tells him that he too has forgiven him. Then gives half of his power to Zeus, whose wounds heal as he becomes young again. Zeus and Hades fight side by side, wiping out the Machae of Kronos. But then Kronos tears open the earth and rises up, so gigantic that even the mountains look small before him. Zeus attacks him, but it only makes the Titan more furious, and Kronos crushes an entire mountain and rains fire down onto the battlefield again and again. The two brothers understand that they must hold Kronos in place so Perseus can get close. So they combine their strength to unleash a blow that dazes the Titan, and makes his mouth fall open for a few moments. Perseus seizes that chance, as Kronos slams the ground and unleashes a storm of fire. Zeus uses the last of his power to shield Hades, and on the back of Pegasus, Perseus flies through the sea of flames straight into the burning mouth of Kronos. He drives the super weapon into the core of the Titan's body, and lightning races through the molten giant until Kronos explodes into countless pieces of stone. Andromeda and her army burst into celebration as Perseus survives and returns. He goes to Zeus, and Hades tells him it is time for a final farewell. Zeus says he is proud of his son, and as he dies he is still smiling, because he has seen in his son everything that he himself never became. Hades, now grown old like an ordinary human, tells Perseus that the age of the gods has ended, and that the world now belongs to their children. Back at the camp, Perseus wants to tell Andromeda how he feels but doesn't have the courage. So Agenor tells him to go to her, and as Perseus steps closer, before he can say a word, Andromeda kisses him and gives a soft smile. At the end of the film, Perseus returns to his son Helios. He hands the boy the sword and reminds him that the blood of the gods runs in his veins, and that this power must be used to protect others. The story comes to a close as the age of the gods ends, and the future of the world is placed into the hands of mankind.